All right, how's it going? My magnificent sons of bitches. I'm back again today because I wanted to go ahead and talk about this China ambassador going out there saying he doesn't declare Taiwan as a sovereign state. And now, ultimately, I've been pretty much against these military conflicts. I've been uh, 110% against, the going and doing military aggressions against Russia. And to be honest with you, I'm not a very big fan of going to war with a country like China for the most part. But with that being said, if there isn't a country out there that has probably pissed me off more than anybody, and this is only because they really get entangled into our affairs pretty much. Whenever you look at the fucking commie-crats in California and you look at all the ridiculous shit of the left and all these appeasements that we have to make towards China all the time, well, it gets to be a little bit frustrating. So, with that being said, you have some UN cuck out there, not even a UN cuck, it's one of our ambassadors to China, that's saying that they're not going to go ahead and, define, because believe it or not, Taiwan, it's a democracy. Basically, whatever you want to go ahead and insinuate about Taiwan, we have these issues with China going ahead and beating their damn chest and claiming that they have some sort of authority, like their opinion, like they really thought of some bullshit. At the end of the day, for the most part, whenever you look at the structure of China and the fucking commie-crats that want to go ahead and move us into that general direction, um, it really doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't make a lot of fucking sense at all. And like I said, at the end of the day, I get a little bit frustrated because, nothing personal. I honestly don't care. China should be left up to the Chinese people of what they're going to do with their country. I'm not, it should be ultimately up to the Chinese citizens and whatnot. However, it should be up to the United States citizens what goes on over here. And it seems like China has a lot of influence over what goes on here, more than I would like. Now, you'll have the commie-crats out there, and mind you that this just shows you the hypocrisy. Because whenever you're talking about the Biden administration and whenever you're talking about the left as a whole, they always go ahead and make these general concessions to China all the time. You know what I'm saying? However, whenever it comes to like Ukraine, on the other hand, whenever they install a fascist, and mind you that they are national socialists, they are fucking Nazis. Whenever it goes into one of their little puppet states, like Ukraine and whatnot, well, we all got to go to war with Russia. Ultimately, the American people, as a citizen right now, currently, as it stands, country versus country, the United States citizen, and mind you that China has a common enemy in Russia and in the United States. Ultimately, China would love nothing more than to have the United States and Russia go to war and then them pick off whoever comes out of that war. Ultimately, that's what China would really want at the end of the day. However, when you listen to the fucking commie-crats in DC, they'll be more than, they put out their little propaganda, Russia this, Russia this. They've been doing this shit ever since Trump was in office, trying to instigate a war with Russia. When ultimately, at the end of the day, Russia and the United States should, because Russia's a constitutional republic right now. They got a constitutional republic. So there's more, there's more of a common interest with dealing with Russia and with dealing with Taiwan, which is, like I said, a democracy in and of itself, than there is right now dealing with the communists that are in the China. The communist stronghold took a major blow whenever Russia went ahead and the former Soviet Union collapsed. Mind you that communism in and of itself is not, it cannot sustain itself. It needs something else out there, particularly whenever you're talking about and it's not too much different than fascism. They'll sit there and point at me and call me a fascist, but there's a difference. I would be considered an anti-federalist and a capitalist. I'm not a fascist. However, the communists are closer to fascism. Fascism is just a lighter version of communism. It's just one of the stages and one of the progressions towards communism. So, with that being said, they all rely on military spending. Whenever you look at DC and the Democrats and, the state of our current statism, the government that's in charge, ultimately, basically, the Democrats are the national party. When's the last time that DC ever flipped for the Republicans? It's never flipped for the Republicans. So, and they're also the party that usually gets us into these global wars. World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea. It's always the Democrats that get us involved. So now we have another weak Democrat leader, not too much different than FDR, who is a weak Democrat leader. Most Democrat leaders are pretty weak. If you go ahead and look at the history of the Democrat Party, all of them were weak. Nobody really messes with a strong, Republican, and usually the Republican Party is the stronger party. At the end of the day, not only mentally, but physically as well. So now what you have going on is the freaking communists in China are really trying to test their limits and whatnot. You have to deal with the Chinese ship and the Chinese government. And like I said, maybe because ultimately, whenever you look at our current administration, the Biden administration, whenever you look at the Biden administration, ultimately they're desperate. They know that they're getting their ass kicked. And then they understand, ultimately, with the economical collapse that's coming, that they need to go ahead and instigate some sort of conflict that they can get involved in, that they could send a percentage. First off, if you get into a war and you go ahead and do the draft, the first ones that should be picked to go into that draft are the people that are in media right now. They're, their kids and whatnot. Go for them people first. You know what I'm saying? The people that are in DC, because y'all are the ones that keep instigating these wars. You're the ones that keep pushing these little buttons. You are the ones trying to make these incidents happen. At the end of the day, if you really want that war, fuck it, let's go to war. But the first people that need to be looked at are these people that voted for the Democrats, that keep pushing this propaganda, the shills in D.C., the people that are in the State Department. All these people should be the first ones if you're going to end up having to do a military draft to go into like some sort of global conflict with the BRICS nations. However, I'm at my wit's end because, like I said, at the end of the day, the United States should be partnering with Russia in this ordeal, and less with China. But it seems like this government wants to go ahead and partner with China because the government that is the Democrat Party, that is DC, they're ultimately national socialists. So, of course, they want to implement some sort of communist. The less power you have, the more power that they have. And they want to have that centralized power and to be a tyranny. Don't let them lie to you and make up shit like they're really fighting for your justice and they're fighting for gay rights and they're fighting for black rights and they're fighting for these rights and they're fighting for those rights. They ain't fighting for shit except for their own power. This is why a lot of people like myself don't trust them whenever they sit there and tell us, oh, we want universal health care. Whenever you hear these little shills and then it goes down, the lower you go down in the shills, the less they understand and the less that they know. But understand, that's what they want. It's not about giving you anything. It's not about making your life easier. It's about them having more control over you. And that's ultimately what they want. So, of course, they're going to go ahead and side with the dictator that's in China versus the constitutional republic that is Russia, who's trying to protect their own best interests. Mind you, that Russia's trying to go ahead and utilize their own resources to go ahead and market out to the world. And this is where it ends up hurting the United States dollar, particularly whenever they print it out like a drunken whore. So currently, right now, what we're seeing is the Democrats in complete and utter desperation. What happens whenever the Democrats get into complete and utter desperation? They get us into a global conflict, whether it's, like I said, whether it's freaking World War I, World War II, Vietnam, whatever it is. You go ahead and look, and the Democrats run the Senate and the Congress. Luckily, you have the Republicans right now that are in charge of the Congress. Are we going to get into a global conflict? I don't know. I honestly don't. But if we are going to get into a conflict, I prefer it to be with China than I would be with Russia. First off, like I said, I don't think that China has the capabilities to actually, as far as resources, they have the manpower, they have the body power. But if it's over, I'd much rather go into a conflict and protect Taiwan, something that I would believe in, protecting that democracy, over protecting the fucking fascists and the they're not even neo Nazis, they're actual Nazis. The actual Nazis in the Svoboda Party that Obama implemented into the Ukraine. I have no issue with Putin doing what he's doing. Yeah, it's going to hurt the dollar, but that's totally on this said party right here. It's totally on all these little politicians out here in D.C. that printed your dollar out. And you never stopped them. You never said anything. You never said we need to cut the deficit. You keep allowing them to go ahead and raise this debt ceiling, and then you go ahead and let them continue assuming these liabilities through these freaking state institutions, and with government pensions and all of these liabilities that they're taking on. You never go ahead, you never audit them, you'll just call me a conspiracy theorist. So whenever it comes back to bite you in the ass and that dollar ends up continuously inflating, the prices of your food and the prices of your gas keep going up. Well, you can't blame me, because I've done videos ever since 2013 sitting there explaining exactly how this is going to come back and affect us, and how ultimately it's going to end up hurting our currency. But you know what? You called me a conspiracy theorist. So now, like I said, we're at that stage. You're going to have to put up or shut up. All of these people who want to go ahead, go out there, claim that they're standing with Ukraine and all this other shit. Maybe it's time you go ahead and shut the fuck up, and then go ahead and sign the enlistment papers. Go ahead and join the army. Stop getting on Twitter and trying to instigate shit with other fucking shills. Because none of us here that are on the outside, that's out of your little shill echo chamber, none of us are going to go ahead and buy into your bullshit. You understand what I'm saying? We're not interested in the shit that you're selling. So you're having, shit sellers trying to sell their shit to other people on Twitter for the most part. But for the most part, the media, all of these people in the State Department, you've killed your credibility. Now, like I said, if you gave me a choice to go ahead and go and have to defend either Ukraine or Taiwan, I'm choosing Taiwan. I'm choosing Taiwan because it's none of those people's fault that China's going ahead. They're trying to go ahead and take control of their country with their freaking, rhetorical communist bullshit that's, ultimately keeps them in slave labor, where they're just basically, that's what they are. That's what China is slave labor. But ultimately, that's I would rather go ahead and fight for those people than to go ahead and fight for the people. And the people in the Ukraine don't even like the Ukrainian government that we implemented in there. So why the hell would I go ahead and fight for those people in the Ukraine? So anyways, yeah, I just figured I'd go ahead and do a video. You people tell me what you think. You like, sub, do the shit YouTube tells me to do to get over. And for now, I'm out.